Okay, you can share your screen now, please.
All right, thank you. So good evening, everybody. Good evening. Hello.
Good evening. We can hear you now. Okay. Yes, we can hear you. Well done.
All right. How are you all doing?
We are fine.
Okay.
Very well.
I'm
fine.
All right. Okay. You can drop your messages in the chat box in case you can't speak where you are. My name is Oluwafunke Fejiro Biobaku, and I studied theater arts from the University of Ibadan, directing to be precise. I did a bit of speech writing, dance, acting, almost everything. So before we get started, I would like to know who is online, and I would appreciate if you can introduce yourselves.
I'm not, I hope you can all hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm not doing screenwriting, but I was interested in animation. But I saw the graphics on the group chat today, and I really wanted to join to see if I can gain 1 or 2 things from this. So thank you for organizing this for.
You're welcome. What is your name, please?
Kairat.
Okay, nice to meet you, Kairat.
Nice to meet you too, Ma.
Is there any other person that would like to introduce themselves? I can see a Kalueze David who is strolling. It's nice to meet you, Precious. It's nice to meet you, Faye. Mr. Femi, good evening. So,
thank you. It's nice
to move on.
Here too.
To move on, I will be taking structure and storytelling, how to captivate the reader. Now, what is structure in script writing? Structure simply means form. Please, if you can't hear me or if you do not understand what I'm saying, please don't hesitate to tell me. Now, what is structure in script writing? Structure simply means form, which is a way of arranging things to form a whole. It is a way of arranging small objects to form a larger object. In script writing, it is simply the creative arrangement of elements to form a whole story. Now, this story that you are writing, or this idea that you have gotten or you have envisaged, you want to form it into a script. You start with deciding, okay, what is the theme? What is the setup? What is the conflict? Where is this going to end? What is the moral lesson of this story? A form must have a captivating beginning, a climatic middle, and a meaningful resolution at the end. Now, what I mean is that every story that is born from an idea needs to have a hook. Now, you cannot just come out and say you have a story and then you say, okay, the man came out. Everybody knows that men come out. What is so interesting about a man coming out? Or what is so interesting about the man? Now, the point of writing a captivating story is to have a hook that when you present this beginning, any audience or any reader that sees it will be so much interested to know the next step. Now, we use that example again. The man came out. What happened to the man? Why did he come out? Where is he going to? Those can be your hooks. That is the meaning of a captivating beginning. Now, a climatic middle is where you come to what happened to the man after he came out. Do you understand what I'm saying, please? If you do, please leave a comment in the chat box. A climatic middle involves knowing why that man came out, what happened to the man when he came out. If you go and say, okay, the man came out, he bought mangoes and went back into the house. There is no climax there. Buying mango is as simple as breathing. There is no conflict in that context. Now you need to be sure that whatever you do, sorry, excuse me. You need to be sure that, oh, okay, all right. Sorry, I do not know how to remove this. Let me see. Okay, I hope this is better. All right, so you need to be sure that whatever you do, there is a climax to your story. There is a resolution to your story. Now, a structure of a script has 5 elements in it. There is a setup. Okay, you're welcome. There is a setup which establishes the setting and the major characters of the story through the description. Now, the setup, when you start a script, you don't just pick, let's talk about Femi now. You don't start writing a script by saying, Femi woke up and he slapped Linda. We need to know where Femi is, what is the situation of Femi, where he is, what is the story, what is his personality like. We don't just go ahead and say, okay, this character did this. We should know a little bit of the character, where he's staying, how his environment affects him, and things like that. Now, the setup is always the first thing in a script, and that is the description. If you are conversant with scripts, you see that from after the first or second page, there is always the characters, and they list them down for you. Let's say Femi is 30 years old, he's married or he's single, he's a baby daddy, or he's a married man that is responsible. All those things are there as character description. That is what we call this setup. It also establishes the setting. Where is this location of the script? Can you hear me, please? Some people say they can't hear me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you more.
All right, okay. Where is Femi? Where is this scenario located? You don't just go and say, Femi is here or is just in a room. You need to have a basic background of where Femi is and where Femi is from. Now, the second point of a story, of the second structure of a script, is known as the first point. Now, this point features the protagonist's personal beliefs and behavior and how they affect him and his environment. Now, after, we are still going to make use of the example of Femi. Okay, we are still going to make use of the example of Femi. Now, Femi is the protagonist, and protagonist means the major character of a story. Now, Femi, who is the protagonist and who holds the whole story together, would need to be, his character and his situation needs to be exposed so that the audience or the readers have a feel of Femi's life. Now, the first point is there for you to introduce him. This is what he is. This is how he's like. This is the situation he is in. Usually, script starts with almost a good description of Femi, painting him as an angel or a victim of circumstances. Femi is usually an innocent character that is yet to learn something. Now, the second point, which is the third element of structure, it introduces his antagonist. An antagonist is the person who brings up unforeseen troubles to the protagonist. The antagonist is the opposite of the protagonist. Now, an antagonist could be an inward self. If Femi likes to smoke, is addicted to smoking, he can't help it but smoke. That problem is from him. That addiction is from him. That is an inward problem. That is an inward antagonist. An antagonist can also be people around him, maybe his wife or his children or his father or a friend or even a higher power. Let's say faith. If we are very conversant with Yoruba films and all, you see where they do go to herbalists and then invoke a stronger power to disturb or intrude in a person's life. That is what I mean by higher power. So here, these antagonists always take precedence in the second point. There must always be a point where the antagonist almost wins over the protagonist. That is why we have the conflict in a script. Without this antagonist and without him almost taking the upper hand, we can't have a conflict. That is where the build-up of the story also comes in. Now, the third point says that the antagonist is victorious over the protagonist and will leave him in a terrible state. So let's use Femi now. Femi goes out to buy mango, and as he's going to buy mango, he's hit by a car. Now, we see that the accident there is his antagonist because it has restricted Femi from doing what he wanted to go and do. And then that accident, which is the second point, becomes victorious as a third point because he has obstructed Femi from going out to getting that mango. That is where the climax happens. That accident part is where the climax happens. Now, the ending also involves the realization of flaws by the protagonist and his attempts to rectify them. This is called the resolution. After Femi has that accident, he thinks, okay, what did I do wrong? Did I cross wrongly? Will this car have hit me if I did this or I did that? That is where he realizes that, okay, I was wrong in doing this, and then he tries to fight his way back. Please, if you understand, please let me know. Okay, this is a script that I have in a way analyzed. I hope you can see this short story. It's like a minute story. Please let me know if you can see the story.
The one with the example at the ending, yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. So this is a script, a very short script. Someone is saying not clear. I don't know what is not clear. Please, you can leave your questions in the box. This is a short script, like a 1-minute script of a full story. Now, I've marked some parts of it in yellow, which shows the structure. Okay, it's not bold.
Pardon, can you help us? Can you make it elaborate more than that? You should let this clear more than that, please.
Let me see what I can do. Is it better? Can you see it now?
It's not better.
Is it better?
It's not clear, honestly. I can't see it.
Oh, okay.
You can change your phone from portrait to landscape.
I'm using a laptop here. I'm using a laptop here. Okay, you guys can actually change your, yes, if you use the landscape setting.
Probably you should change the background. You change the background.
If your phone is on portrait, if you turn it to landscape, you see it better than when it's on.
All right, thank you very much. Now, if you start from the beginning, you see that it first says the establishment shot. Now, in that establishment shot, there is a room we see, and we see Dapo, a guy in his early 20s, lying dead on the ground. And Linda, his friend, who is also the same age, on skimpy dress, sitting on the ground near Dapo with a container of insecticide in her hands, ready to drink. This is called the setup. Now, from what I've explained, you can see that a description of the setting has been made and a description of the two characters have been made. Now, this setup will help us to understand what this situation is like. We can see it is a somber situation. It's almost like a tragedy. We can't fully say it is a tragedy because we do not know what is happening yet. This setup is a hook. It is inviting. It is what will make us want to know okay, why is Dapo lying dead on the ground? Why is Linda holding the bottle of insecticide? Is this a play of Romeo and Juliet in Nigeria? You want to know what it is. Now, the next line says, before I take my leave, which is Linda talking, before I take my leave to the land of death, let me reveal to you the mystery behind my actions. Now, that is known as the first point. This is okay, thank you. This is an introduction into the character, the first character of the script. She's exposing herself. She wants you to know why this is happening, why they are playing Romeo and Juliet right now. If you read it, I can't read the whole script because it's going to take time. So she starts by saying, knocking on Dapo's door, open the door, guy. And Dapo goes to open the door. Linda comes inside. Dapo looks at Linda, looks at her in a seductive way. Linda says, it has been stressful. I'm really tired right now. Is there anything at home I can eat or drink? This shows the relationship between Linda and Dapo. It shows that they are very good friends, and she doesn't even notice how Dapo looks at her. This shows the relationship between these two characters. It also shows the difference, the personalities of the two characters. We can see from this that Linda likes to dress in a funny manner that is too much appealing to Dapo. Now, Dapo, who is her friend, sees this. He looks tempted by what he looks at her he looks at Linda with temptation, but he finds a way to quickly cover it up because Linda is his friend and he wouldn't want her to see or notice how he looks at her. Now, the next one says, Dapo stares at her seductively, then forcefully drags her from behind, pushes her to the bed. Linda screams, "What are you doing, Dapo? Someone please help me." This here is the second point. If you go back to what I said earlier, you see that the second point introduces his antagonist, people, higher power, inward self. Here, the antagonist takes precedence. This is the conflict. Now you see that Dapo here is Linda's antagonist. Linda is also Dapo's antagonist, but Linda plays an antagonist inwardly because she's a temptation to Dapo. But physically, Dapo is Linda's antagonist. This is the climax. This is the conflict here because this is one character against the other character. And here we see that Dapo takes precedence, and as we move on, we'll see what happened. Now we see Linda on the bed with her clothes soaked in blood. Dapo stands up from the bed, adjusting his trousers, picks up his hand fan. Linda, my pride, blah, blah, blah. Dapo, did I hear you say wild beast? Me beast, and blah, blah, blah. Linda sobs. Even if you wanted to get anything in exchange for the money, should it be this? For this you have done to me. Dapo says, don't you dare curse at me. Why are you cursing at me? Like you didn't even like it. Did you know how long I've been taking this to myself, trying to abstain from your temptations? Now you see that with this statement, we see that Dapo was already trying to fight his own antagonist inwards, but his antagonist was able to take precedence over him. And that was why he was able to overcome Linda and do what he did to Linda. Now, the next slide says, Dapo, okay, so just do whatever you want to do. Clean up and get your stinking body out of my room. Linda says, stinking body? And then she picks a heavy object and hits him on the head. This is the third point. If we go back, we see that the third point says the antagonist being victorious over the protagonist, leaving him in a terrible state. Now here, we see that Linda's antagonist has also taken over, which is anger. Now, what she does is to pick up a heavy object and hits it on Dapo's head. This is where the antagonist has overcome Linda and she acts her out in a negative manner. Now, Dapo screams in pain and falls to the ground. Linda drops this heavy object, Dapo, with the flashback ends, and we go back to the beginning where we see Dapo, a guy in his early 20s, lying on the floor dead. Linda, his friend, who is also of the same age in his black. Now, Linda weeps. Should I say he's the one at fault or me? Now he's gone, and I don't think my conscience will make me leave. I think I'll have to join him there, even if this isn't right. Now, this is the ending, and as we see, the ending involves the realization of flaws by the protagonist and his attempt to rectify them. This is the resolution. Now, Linda has realized her own fault, that, okay, she hits Dapo with a heavy object on the head, which should not have happened. This is where she tries to take back, she has realized her flaws and tries to retrace her steps. Now, what she is doing goes both ways. She's trying to escape the antagonist, or she's trying to overcome the antagonist. Right now, Linda is trying to escape the antagonist by taking that poison. She's fighting the antagonist in her own way. She takes the insecticides, cries in agony, and then gives up the ghost. Now, Dapo wakes up touching his head, feeling pain, then saw Linda lying dead on the floor. He sees the insecticide container, then carries Linda, rushing her to the hospital. This is where Dapo also overcomes his antagonist, because anyone in their rights that is afraid might think, okay, what will I do with this body? What do I do now? Should I hide it or something? But he realizes that he was the beginning of this whole catalyst, and then he tries to amend it by taking Linda to the hospital to see what he can do, or if Linda can survive, which makes him, instead of being an escapist from the antagonist, he tries to be victorious over the antagonist. I hope we understand the analogy of the structure of this script. Please let me know if you understand it. May I know if you understand it, or should I move on?
Yeah, I understand.
Move on,
You
very
can move
okay.
on. You can move on, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Okay, all right. Now we go to storytelling, which is the second part of this masterclass. Now, storytelling is simply how one tells a story in a way that will captivate the reader's mind. Like I used the first example of Femi, this is where you get to add all those interesting details in storytelling. You add those little things that will fill up a story, those tiny details that you feel is not really worth it. But when you put it in, you see that it makes the story stronger, more captivating, and all. Now, like I said, storytelling is simply how one tells a story in a way that will captivate the reader's mind. You must have, elements in storytelling. There is a theme. There should always be a theme. Well, you can't have a story without a theme, because it has to be about something. It's either it is about hate, or about betrayal, or love, politics, religion, trust, rape, like the example we just had. I know. A theme is a general discussion about a subject. It is usually the driving force of the story. Now, it's possible to have many themes in a story, but the difference is that there will always be a major theme and minor themes. You can't have 2-3 themes that will be struggling for a position. One has to be stronger than the other. Now, we move to characters. Characters give depth and a source of familiarity to the story. They are the life force of a story. You can't go, when you write a script, there should always be something to anchor the story. It's rare for us to see the story of a stone, and then we say, okay, the stone was on the floor, and the rain fell on the stone, it doesn't make so much sense. Maybe except it's a poem and you want to glorify the stone or you want to condemn the stone. But when you talk about storytelling, you need characters, because characters are what you get familiar with. Characters are the ones that tell the story. They are the ones that give depth and a source of familiarity to the story. They are known as the life force of the story. They are the ones who physically bring to life your idea. Now, setting is the third element in storytelling. In the world, it is the world in which the story, your idea takes place. A setting must be able to influence the story and adapt to the general idea of your story. Now, what I mean by a setting must be able to influence the story. You can't have a story in Lagos and then say Queen Elizabeth drank tea. We all know Queen Elizabeth is London, it's England. Queen Elizabeth is England. You will only adapt this setting to Queen Elizabeth if you say Queen Elizabeth visited Nigeria and she stopped in Lagos. That is the only way to make a connection. Or maybe you say Queen Elizabeth wrote a letter to someone in Lagos. There should be a connection, but it is stronger when you are able to make the setting have a stronger influence on the story. Now, it should adapt to the general idea of the story, Now, like the example I used earlier, you can't say Queen Elizabeth slept, you can't say the yellow buses in Lagos was one of the transportation that was used in the what's it called? Okay, what I'm trying to say is that there's a line of cars that takes Queen Elizabeth to wherever she's going to. We can't just carry a Lagos bus from there and put it in the line of cars that Queen Elizabeth is in, if you understand what I'm saying. I'm sorry I've misplaced that word somewhere. Now, plot is the main story itself. In almost every story, it is simply the beginning that leads to difficulties for the protagonist. And convoy, God bless you, convoy. That's the word I was looking for. You can't say that one of these our BRT, yellow buses just appeared in the convoy of Queen Elizabeth. It's going to be weird. Everybody will be wondering, okay, what has this got to do with this? Or how did a yellow bus get into the convoy of Queen Elizabeth? It's going to look weird. It will be very comic. And then the audience will wonder what the writer is trying to say with that kind of information. Maybe comedy, extreme comedy, but what is the sense in it? Now, plot is the main story itself. In almost every story, it is a simple beginning that leads to difficulties for the protagonist, an inevitable climax, and a resolution that solves the problem or solution to the problem. This is the cause and effect pattern. Now, plot is basically the story that is the idea that you have finally shaped into a story, how it started from the beginning, how it was in the middle, and how it is at the end. Conflict, this is the underlying tension in the story. It could be external or internal. If you remember what I told you earlier on about Dapo, having an internal conflict with himself, and Linda having a physical conflict with Dapo. It is a challenging force for the protagonist created by the antagonist. There should always be a resolution of this conflict. Sometimes these days, when you read some scripts, you see that people get to have, or writers get to have weak resolutions of conflicts. When they have very strong conflicts, it's either they end it with this person died, or They don't just end it, they leave it as an open ending. Those kind of scripts are a little bit weak because you need to pass across a moral lesson to your reader or to your audience. Okay, how has this character been able to overcome this antagonist? How has he been able to overcome this personal flaw? What has he been able to realize from the troubles he has been going through? Now, in all this, storytelling majorly consists of a beginning, a middle, and end. These three acts can be interswitched reasonably and must never confuse the audience. I've explained that now. You shouldn't write a story that's at the end, okay, we're like, what happened? Is there a sequel? Is it complete? You don't understand what's happening. It should always be complete. Every scene must be complete. Every story must be complete. Now, there is nothing wrong with having an open ending in a script. When you have open endings in a script, it is because you have directed the reader's attention to a particular ending or two particular endings. And you want them to be able to decide by themselves what kind of ending they want. Now, this is another analysis, the same story, but with the analysis of storytelling. I'll start again. Now, the establishment shot is in the room. We see Dapo, a guy in his 20s and black. Now, this establishment shot shows, which is the setup, if you remember, it shows two characters that have been defined. This little detail incites suspense in the audience and makes them want to know more. This is what I explained in the beginning, where the reader gets to read Dapo lying on the ground and Linda is holding a bottle of insecticide. And they wonder, okay, what is happening here? These are very young people. What would make them what will make one die and what will make the other want to commit suicide? Are they in trouble? Are they trying to escape? Did they commit a crime? I want to know more. And then the audience, the reader continues to read. Now, Linda says, before I take my leave to the land of death, let me reveal to you the mystery behind my actions. This is the end that has been interswitched with the beginning. Now, a story, even if it's supposed to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, doesn't have to be in that order. So far, you are very creative about it. Now, this writer has brought the end of the story to the beginning, but he uses another element to balance this out, which is known as the flashback. Now, Linda in the flashback tells her story, or she narrates her story, why she's holding a bottle of insecticide. And this directs the reader to what is happening to Linda. Now, she told Dapo, Linda knocks on the door. Guy, open the door. Dapo says, Mumu, come inside. I'm coming, Joe. Dapo opens the door and looks at her seductively. If you can read what I wrote there, conflict 1 is internal. This is the first conflict of the story. It is a gradual build up. It's going to be a gradual build up to the main conflict. Now, this conflict 1 is internal. The tempting body of Linda is what is the first conflict for Dapo. It is internal. It is called lust. The tension begins to rise from here, leading to the main conflict. Now, the first conflict, I'll call it the sub-conflict. This sub-conflict is known as lust, and it is the beginning of the rise of the tension towards the main conflict. Now, Linda says, why are you staring at me that way? Dapo says, nothing. So how was the journey? Linda, it was very stressful. I'm really tired right now. Is there anything at home I can eat or drink? Dapo doesn't go and get the food. He continues to stare seductively at her. Then he lets that lust take over. This is where the antagonist, the first conflict antagonist, takes precedence. He drags Linda and pushes her to the bed. Antagonist wins the first conflict, which will lead to a greater conflict or a swift resolution. But nobody is always, the story won't be interesting if everything just dies with the rape. We want to know what is happening after the rape. Will Dapo get over it? Will Dapo be punished for it? Will Linda die? Will something happen? We continue reading. This is how storytelling is built. We keep the reader seated. We want this reader to continue reading. Now, that same day, which is the setting which has influenced the story and adapted to the idea. We know it is in Dapo's room. Rape cannot happen in the market where everybody is watching them. It will look funny. They will stone the person to death immediately, or police will come and carry the person. So Dapo's room there has influenced the story because it is a private area. It's a place where anything can happen and be kept in secret. Now, Linda cries, my pride is stolen. What have I done to you to deserve all of this? I thought we were best friends. I thought I could trust you. I never knew you were a wild beast sent to me by the devil. This is conflict number 2. This is Linda's exposition to her own first antagonist, which is the rape. This is the climax of the story, the major conflict, which is that rape that happened. Now, Dapo, did I just hear you say wild beast? Oh no. Oh, now I am a beast, and blah, blah, blah. They exchange a few words, a few back and forth, and then they get to where Dapo says, just do whatever you want. Go and clean up and get your stinking body out of my room. This infuriates Linda. This is conflict number 3, which is internal, anger. We've spoken about lust, we brought it, which started it, rape, which was the main which was the physical conflict and the climax, the first climax. And we get to conflict number 3, which is also internal, anger. Now, anger, the antagonist wins again. She picks up a heavy object and hits him on the head. Dapo screams in pain and falls to the ground. Now we go back to the beginning. We've passed the middle. We've had the end. We've had the middle. Now we go back to the beginning to understand the end. Now Dapo says, should I say, after Linda hits Dapo, Linda says, should I say he's the one at fault or me? Here she's realizing her flaws and she's trying to find a way to make a resolution. She realizes these flaws, which leads to a resolution for one character. Does she win through escape? Linda tries to win, she tries to be victorious over her antagonist through escape, which is taking the insecticide. She can't fight the antagonist all by herself. She'd rather escape. Now, Dapo wakes up touching his head, feeling the pain as he sees Linda lying dead on the floor. He sees the insecticide container, carries Linda and rushes her to the hospital. This is the resolution for the other character. The protagonist realizes and causes change. Does he win? This shows that instead of Dapo trying to find a way to escape, he decides that he is going to fight back. He doesn't care if he's going to be jailed for the rape. He doesn't care if he's going to be punished. He wants to rectify his mistake, and that is why he's taking Linda to the hospital. Here he has realized, and this is where we see growth. Now, for Linda's one, she cannot grow because she has taken the insecticide, which will stunt all her progress, stunt her mistakes, stunt everything. But that one, on the other hand, he's going to learn. He knows that from this, he would not repeat such a mistake. I hope you understand the two different realizations of flaw there. Now, the major theme here is sexual abuse. Some things are recklessness, anger, betrayals, fear, death. You can add as many as you want. I hope you also understand this. Thank you very much. I hope that I was able to impart some knowledge into you, and everything I said was very clear. Thank you. I'm open for questions now.
That's very interesting.
Okay, thanks a lot, ma'am, for the class.
Hello, Pedro.
Hello.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Oluwafunke Pedro, for this very vital masterclass you delivered today on structure and script writing. Really appreciate this. Let's take questions from our audience.
Good evening.
Guys,
my name is
please.
Precious.
Okay, go on.
I have a question. Before writing a script, do you come up with the whole settings, and as you have already figured out the way it is going to end before writing, or along the process you try to figure out the way your story is going to end?
Okay, it goes both ways, and in a way you've answered yourself. Most of the times you have the story, you know what you want to write about, and you know how it is going to end. But along the line, this is where creativity comes in, and then you start to have several ideas come into your head. Do you really want it to end like this, or do you prefer this ending? And then from there you choose which one. You can still maintain the first one you started with, but most of the times, if you are very open to your story, or if you are connected and you get inspirations from everywhere, you start to think, okay, is this really where you want to go? Is this how you want the story to end? That is why many writers take longer times to write, because they get several other ideas while writing the story. Okay, sorry, let me quickly answer some of them here. Is Dapo really remorseful, or his actions, or could it be that it is the right thing to do when someone drops dead? Well, that is, Dapo might not be remorseful, and he might be remorseful. Now, I would say he's remorseful because he's trying to save Linda's life. If he wasn't, he would have decided to hide her body or do something with it. But because he's remorseful, he doesn't care if his actions are going to put him in trouble. Do you understand?
Okay.
And you say it is the right thing to do when someone drops dead. Okay, let's not go too far about that.
Okay.
But we know human nature and fear. Then another question.
So, hello. Someone is asking if there's a difference between protagonist and antagonist?
Yes, I said that earlier. A protagonist is usually the main character, is usually the one the story is about, is usually the one the whole theme is about. While the antagonist is the person that is there, or is the force that is there to oppose this antagonist. Let me use the example of Dapo and Linda. But let me just make use of the example of Linda. Now, Linda can be seen as the protagonist, and Dapo can be seen as the antagonist, because Dapo is a force that has gone against Linda. He has raped her. He has taken something from her. He's now an obstacle to Linda. Do protagonists and antagonists appear in every story? Yes, they do. That is why it is called conflict. That is why you have conflict in every story. Now, the thing about protagonist and antagonist, an antagonist doesn't have to be a person. Like I said earlier on, it could be an inward struggle. It could be people outside. It could be a higher force, if you understand what I'm saying.
Okay. I hope that answers the questions. So, is there any more questions, guys? Please drop your questions here.
Yes. Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Ali Isiaku.
Yes. Thank you very much. I want to appreciate you for taking your time to educate us on the structures of story and all of it. And I think your lecture is quite enlightening. So I want to ask a question with regards to where you say every story must have a moral lesson.
Okay.
So concerning in real life, we have seen the situations where, because in a society, as far as human being exists, there must be conflict. And in the context of that conflict, you have the protagonist and the antagonist. And we have seen where an antagonist always have the upper hand and goes with the actions on without anything later happening to the person at the end of the action he melted out on the protagonist. So in the context of a story, must every story always have the moral lesson where at the end of the day, where the antagonists have not succeeded in doing whatever I wanted to do to the protagonist?
Okay.
Would the, I don't know that whether you understand the question.
Yes, I do. Thank you very much, Aditya. Yes, I do. So permits me to say that in many scripts writing or screenwriters, you always hear this saying, crime must not be seen to pay. Now, in a situation where you see that crime is seen to pay, we mostly tag it as tragedy. But even in that tragedy, you see that the protagonist would have fought. He would not just go down. He would have fought. He would have fought to escape that antagonist. Maybe he ends up dying, or maybe he ends up losing something. But if you pay close attention, you will find out that he would have grown from that lesson. It might not be very obvious to the reader or to the audience. It might be a very subtle moral lesson. It might not also be at the end. The reader might learn, okay, I shouldn't have taken, if I was this character, I would not take this step so that I will not end here. Or this is the way I would have fought this antagonist. It's a pity that this protagonist has died this way or has suffered this way, but if I were the one, this is how I will do it better. So it might not be very obvious that the moral lesson might not be very obvious in the story or the whole picture, but it will be somewhere in that story. And it's a popular saying, crime must not be seen to pay, because the point of writing a story is to teach, or is to talk about an experience, is to create solution to a problem.
Okay, thank you, Fejiro, for that.
You're welcome.
Any more questions? Any more questions?
I can see some here. My question is, should all scripts all be for corrective ones? How about comedy aspects? I think I've answered that already. Now, comedy is always a script that laugh at the misfortune of others, but in there is always sense in the comedy. I'm sure that if you watch a comedy and of someone sleeping on a banana peel and falling down, it's very funny for you to watch it. But if you're walking on the road and you see a banana peel, I'm very sure that you will not go and walk on that banana peel and fall. You will change your direction so that thing that happened to that person in that comedy won't affect you. These things might be very, very subtle, but they are always there. Why is it necessary to use main theme? Because you need a binding, you need a bond to hold the story together. You can't bring in different ideas, different plots, and then call it a script. You need something that will hold your idea together. So there has to be a main theme. Thanks for the insights. Please share the on-screen script sample with us for reference. Okay, I will do that. Is her script a drama, or the name of characters are added to every dialogue? I don't understand that question. It's a drama. It's a very short drama, but I really don't understand your question. Crime must not be seen to pay. It simply means that you should not always applaud crime. A crime must be punished. Crime must not be seen to pay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Oluwafunke, you delivered quite a lot, today on structure and storytelling, and I'm very sure our audience have learned a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I must commend you.
You're
But I
welcome.
don't think we have any more questions. I don't think that should be the last.
I have a question, please.
Okay, go on, please.
All right.
Okay, thanks a lot for the teaching. I would like to know a good movie script, is there a number of scenes it should have to make sense?
Technically, there are some rules that you should have a number of scripts, but I don't believe that anyways, because what you need to do, what I feel is needed is creativity. You can have five scenes that will make so much sense. There are one act plays that is just one scene, and by the time you watch it from beginning to end, you are so much captivated. Let me talk about I don't know if we all know this play, Samuel Beckett's play, Waiting for Godot. It's quite an old script, but that is the one I can remember now. That is a one-scene play, and it had so many acts in it. It kept the reader captivated. It didn't have to have so much drama, so much actions in it and all. It's a script that could go on for 2 hours, and it kept the audience or kept the reader wanting more. Yeah, okay. I'll send it to you.
I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
All right.
You're welcome.
Hello.
Next question. Go on, please.
Sorry, I think nobody have responded to that.
Oh, okay. So thank you, guys. We must thank our moderator. She's done a really good job today. Okay, go on, please.
I have a question, sorry. Please, I wanted to know, the protagonist and the antagonist, is he like, so for some scene or an event to take place, is it that they have to change, that a protagonist can become an antagonist after an event must have occurred or something like that? Because I didn't really get what you were saying before, when Dakpo, after he has after you must have waked up and he noticed that Linda is lying on the floor. So
sorry, please, I don't understand what you're asking.
Yes, what I think he's asking is that we share a PDF file. Can we do that?
I've shared the structure.
Yes, she has shared that, and I think all the information you need is right in there, if you don't mind. Right?
Okay. It's okay,
yes.
It's okay.
So we don't
I'll go through the PDF.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions from anyone else before we bid farewell? Any more questions? I guess not.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Go on, please, quickly.
Please, I just want to ask that, can we compare antagonist to hero as a protagonist to heroine? What?
I didn't get that, please. Your network is breaking.
As in, hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Your network is quite bad. We can't hear you clearly. Can you drop your question in the chat, please? Do that.
Okay.
Drop a question in the chat. Okay. Somebody said waiting for who thought is I think only readers or
yes, you are right.
You've addressed that as well.
Yes, but that I used it as an example. It's not. That's why I stated that it's not a common play. I just used it as an example.
Okay. So guys, she has dropped the PDF file, and I hope it answers all the other questions we have. That I believe there are so many, other questions to be shared. But please go through the PDF file, learn all the examples she has cited there. And thank you so much, Oluwafunke Bijiro, for your time and availability. It's not all the time we get people, come on, to deliver what they know. Yeah, it's one thing to know something, it's another thing to be able to pass on the knowledge to, an audience. So thank you so much for this. It was very insightful. We are grateful here. We're grateful from TAFTA. We're grateful for, I'm sure our audience are grateful. Can we say thank you to Oluwafunke before we, end this meeting?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So see you guys in the next masterclass. And thank you, Oluwafunke. We'll stay in touch.
I have a question before.
Okay, thank you so much, everybody. And this is a wonderful section. And I also want to thank our speaker for today. Thank you so much. You have done a great work. This is a work that so many people might not be able to deliver. Thank you so much. We really appreciate everyone for taking your time. Have you completed your course? This is the question I would definitely ask all our students this wonderful evening. If you have not completed your course, try as much as possible to complete your course. We have so much opportunity waiting ahead of you, and I can tell you some people are presently at our film village. They are seeing what is happening there, how people shoot. They are meeting actors, even those who are into lighting, sound designs. They also understand how they do all those things. So if you are here and you have not completed your course, I will plead with you to is waiting ahead, or that are waiting ahead. So thank you so much. And I also want you to enjoy your good evening, and also remember that TAFTA cares for you. Thank you so much, our speaker, in person of Mrs. Oluwafunke. We really appreciate it.
Sorry, we have not gotten the PDF, or the PDF is not on the chat.
For those who are here to get a PDF, I can tell you that our LSOs will send to your various WhatsApp group, and you can easily get it from there. Even if you get it from here, if you didn't download it on time, as soon as we end this meeting, it will definitely go away. But we send it to a place where you can easily catch it up and you can see what she has taught us today. Thank you so much, everyone. It's actually a wonderful evening. And permit me to say a good, big thank you to also somebody like Mr. Kayode, and also Mr. Joseph, and some of our staffs that are actually online. And Juliet, thank you so much. A lot of our staffs, I can see a lot. I cannot continue to mention names. Permit me if I didn't mention your names. And I can see a lot of our students that have answered questions, and all those people that also want to ask more questions. This is a wonderful experience that we always bring to you, to your doorstep, every first Sunday of every month. So another Sunday is coming, and another month is coming, another Sunday will definitely be for this opportunity. You definitely get the information about this. Thank you so much, everyone. We really want to appreciate it. Thank you, and have a perfect time.
Thank you, Femi. Bye, guys.